Okay, the app hasn't recognized I'm live yet. That's okay. Okay, so today we're editing the COVID-19 LST podcast for December 3rd, December 7th, December 8th, December 9th, and December 11th. If you'd like to know more about COVID-19 LST, go ahead and go to their website at covid19lst.org. There you will find reports, our podcast, and so many more things. We have a Patreon, of course, Anchor FM, and if I'm missing one, you'll see it in the description below. Anywho, I would like to get started, but I want to post the share link beforehand, but Twitch is not recognizing that I'm online. Okay, it says I am live. Okay, but how do I share this? Oh, this is so gonna bother me. Okay, so it does say I am live. Okay, that's nice. Here we go. Share link. Okay. Where am I going to share the link? That's the next question. Gosh, where would I share this link? I feel like Twitter is not really a good outlet to share it, but I don't know where else to share it. So I'm just going to tweet it out. Okay. Whatever. Here we go. Finally going to get into it.
For December 3rd, 2020.
Management. A systematic review analyzed a set of 45 studies published between November 1st, 2019 and March 15th, 2020. They found that an elevated leukocyte count, alanine aminotransferase, aspartate transaminase, and lactate dehydrogenase and procalcitonin levels predicted ICU admission in patients with COVID-19. ARDS, or acute respiratory distress syndrome, was predicted by elevated LDH, while mortality was predicted by increased leukocyte counts and elevated LDH. Treatment with lopinavir/ritonavir showed no significant benefit across mortality and ARDS rates, while corticosteroids were associated with a higher rate of ARDS.
Wow, I have no idea what they're talking about.
These findings suggest that elevated levels of LDH, leukocytosis, procalcitonin, AST and ALT may be important signs of disease severity, though early antiviral steroid treatments do not appear to offer much clinical benefit.
We need a jingle.
Appear to offer much clinical benefit. Members of clinical benefit. Members of the Department of Geriatrics at Peking University First Hospital in China conducted a systematic review meta-analysis of 25 articles assessing coagulation parameters in 3,952.
Oh, it looks like someone's on. Hello. Feel free to leave anything in the chat. I will try to answer it to the best of my ability.
SARS-CoV-2 positive patients published between December 1st, 2019 and May 1st, 2020. And prothrombin.
Oh, here we go.
Then prothrombin, they found significant November 1st, 2019 and May 1st, 2020. Then prothrombin, they found significantly
I don't know what that's about.
higher D-dimer,
Hopefully we'll figure it out
prothrombin,
later.
and fibrinogen in patients with more severe COVID-19 when compared to those
Maybe the first.
in May 1st,
Couple seconds
2020.
after.
Then prothrombin,
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that it was just kind of random.
November 1st, 2019 and May 1st, 2020. They found significantly higher D-dimer, prothrombin, and fibrinogen and fibrinogen in patients with more severe COVID-19 when compared to those with less severe disease. COVID-19 when compared to those with less severe disease, suggesting that hypercoagulability is associated with the severity of COVID-19 disease and
So we're just taking out these breaths.
disease and coagulation parameters should be assessed in these patients to monitor their progression.
So we have a new section.
Silver linings.
It's a bit too long for my taste.
A literature review by investigators at McGill University of vaccine trials for 23 different viral infectious diseases.
Also, if you've not seen the ingredients for the COVID-19 vaccine, you can find it at MIT Technology Review. They're a great resource, and it's also on my Snapchat story.
Diseases
I'm sorry, not Snapchat story, Instagram story.
from January 2005 through March 2020 showed that these trials historically have a 10% chance of moving from phase 2 through Food and Drug Administration or licensure within 10 years. And the average timeline for phase 2 to approval was 4.4 years.
I think that's typically based upon funding.
Suggesting an unparalleled achievement if COVID-19 vaccination is approved within 18 months of the start of the pandemic.
All right, and that's a wrap for 12.3. So we'll go to, oh, you know what, I have to insert, there we go.
Pandemic. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
So the outro, Command A, Command C, Command B.
Thanks for listening.
Continue to stay informed with that.
Read less, do more with COVID-19. LST. .org. Okay, intro. Okay, so then I'm going to do say click pop eliminator based on these effects. Noise reduction, restoration, click pop eliminator. Default seems to work great for me.
Welcome back to the Daily Report.
It's still a little high. The best way to resolve that, in my opinion, is just to re-record it in general, and unfortunately I don't have that capability currently. Okay, so now we're going to go to multi-track session. I'm not going to name the session. You can name the session. You could also put it in different workspaces. You can edit the workspace. if you'd like. Effects track, no, waveform. I don't like that I did that. Okay, close panel. Close panel. Close panel. There we go. Wow, I really don't like that I actually did that. Anywho, what I was trying to show is that, here we go, is you could put it in like radio production mode. Ta-da. You can edit the metadata if you'd like. Anywho, we're just going to take 12.3, choice 1 audio. I got this choice 1 audio, and I believe it. I know I say the same things over and over again like a broken record. Free stock music. Yeah, plain and simple. Mixkit.co, free stock music. Yeah. Royalty free, copyright free. That's the way I want it. Okay, one person is still here, so if you would like to drop a comment, anything, I'm open to discussing literally anything. Doesn't matter. We're going to raise the decibels on this because I thought it was really loud. Of course, we don't want the decibels to be high on the background noise. That doesn't make sense. So I think a good rule of thumb so far has been anywhere between 28 to 35. We're going to do it at I'm going to do 33.9 because why not?
Welcome back to the Daily Report, brought to you by the COVID-19 Literature Surveillance Team.
We are your hosts, Will Smith
and Jasmine Robb,
bringing you the highlights from our newest report.
So you don't want those two background noises to overlap because that would sound goofy. We're going to use these keynotes to kind of smooth out the fade in of the audio.
The report for December 3rd, 2020.
Okay, I feel like that was an excessive amount of space.
Funny.
Management. A systematic review analyzed a set of 45 studies published between November 1st, 2019.
Okay, so now we're gonna look. I think it sounds good. So we're gonna look for the transitions. Oh, here's a jingle. And what we're going to do is we're going to mute the jingle on the background audio. What you could do for this is you could cut. Like you could do the razor tool. You could razor the audio out. I think this is just easier just to bottom up the audio for
University First Hospital in China conducted a systematic review and
Pandemic. That's all.
So now we're going to remove this audio because that's part of the outro. And we're just gonna smoothen the fade out with the keynotes. Boom. Love it. File. Export. Multi-track mixdown. Entire session. Now we can name it something. We're going to call it 12_3_final. It's of course a wave. And 4400 hertz, stereo 32-bit. That's what works for me. Boom. And now it's exporting. Alright, are we on to the next one? We sure are. Okay. waveform. Oh, I don't like that. And see, we can see the finals right here. 12/7. Let's go to 12/7. Let's zoom in.
The report for December 7th, 2020.
Understanding the pathology. Critical.
Okay, I don't know what this was. We're just gonna like silence it a bit.
Understanding the pathology. Critical illness is associated with cerebral microbleeds for patients with severe COVID-19.
So what we're gonna have to do in the mix track or the multi-track is
a retrospective cohort study conducted at University Hospitals of Strasbourg, France, compared 19 severe COVID-19 patients with MRI evidence of microhemorrhage to 18 COVID-19 patients with normal MRI and found more.
Excuse you, Adobe Audition. What in the world? I just pressed delete. There we go. Thank you.
Normal MRI and found more pronounced respiratory failure, higher D-dimer increases, and more frequent need for dialysis in the microhemorrhage group due to the hemorrhage group.
Just gonna remove that.
The researchers hypothesized that blood-brain barrier dysfunction due to hypoxemia and levels of uremic toxins
Whoa, that sounds really bad. Again, what is this?
Toxins
Delete.
may be a key mechanism of COVID-19 related cerebral microhemorrhage, which clinicians should consider during their management of patients with severe COVID-19.
Alright, so feeling this. Oh, it might not be a new section. It's probably a new study. Oh, it was a new section.
Transmission and prevention. A pooled surveillance testing program for asymptomatic SARS-CoV-2 infections was implemented by college campuses. This observational study, conducted by an interdisciplinary team at Duke University in North Carolina,
Yo, shout out Duke in North Carolina. That hospital's actually amazing.
Implemented mandatory masking, social distancing,
the college, the university is.
and entry and surveillances
really
for
expensive.
SARS-CoV-2 testing with
it's a
5-to-1 pooled quantitative RT-PCR large-scale testing of 10,265 students yielded 84 positive results. Testing of 10,265 students yielded 84 positive results, of which 43 were asymptomatic. Authors suggest pooled testing allows for high sensitivity and rapid results while decreasing supply chain distributions by using fewer resources, which could be more successful in limiting transmission than testing only symptomatic individuals.
Oh, undo. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell, rock. Okay, anyway.
And to help you adjust your practice during this pandemic, we present data that show a decline in SARS SARS-CoV-2 antibodies after mild infection among frontline healthcare professionals by the CDC COVID-19 response team and Ivy Network that conducted an analysis of 3,284 frontline healthcare personnel from 13 different hospitals across 12 states and found 194 had SARS-CoV-2 antibodies at initial baseline testing using an ELISA as an assay method. About 60 days later, 156 returned for follow-up testing, of which 93.6% had a decline in the antibody response. And 108 reported COVID-19 symptoms. Additionally, among the cohort who initially tested positive, seroreversion was observed 19.4% of those that reported. Seroreversion was observed in 19.4% of those that reported symptoms and 47.9% of those without symptoms. And 47.9% of those without symptoms. These results suggest that antibodies to SARS-CoV-2 decline over time, and negative serologic results do not exclude previous infection, highlighting that there may be significant differences in the interpretation of serological studies regarding COVID-19 epidemiology.
All right, that's a wrap on 12.7.
That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
Oh my god, I'm so sick of accidentally pressing the slash bar.
Continue to look at the daily report.
We're gonna do another multi-track mix session. And we're not going to name it again. So according to this Twitch streaming software I'm using, one person is still watching this, so congrats. It's been almost a half an hour. I'm very, very surprised. Anyway.
The report for December 7th, 2020.
Understanding the pathology.
Okay, yeah, so...
Critical illness associated.
The report for December 7th, 2020.
Understanding the pathology. Critical illness is associated with cerebral Understanding the pathology. Critical illness is associated with cerebral. A retrospective cohort study conducted at University Hospitals of Strasbourg, France, compared 19 severe COVID-19 patients with MRI evidence of microhemorrhage to 18 COVID-19 patients with normal MRI and found more pronounced respiratory failure, higher D-dimer increases, and more frequent need for dialysis COVID-19.
Mission and prevention.
Severe COVID-19.
Transmission and prevention. A pooled surveillance testing program for asymptomatic SARS-CoV-2 infections was implemented on a college campus. This observational cohort study, conducted by an
Action.
testing only symptomatic individuals.
And to help
That's all for today. Thanks for listening. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
continue to stand with us.
Read less, do more.
With COVID-19,
LST.org.
Okay, anyway. Again, we are going to go to File, Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, Entire Session. Rename it 12_7_ final. That's the one we're working on. Correct. Okay, so we have 12.8, 12.9, and 12.11. All right. Whatever it is not showing me how long it is. Okay, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Cool.
The report. The report for December 8th, 2020.
Climate. No fault compensation.
Okay, climate is super quiet, so we're gonna jack it up here, hopefully.
Climate. 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 No fault compensation for vaccine injury. Are we looking at the other side of equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines? An opinion piece on COVID-19 vaccination explains that though there are 79 high-income countries ready to pay for vaccine distribution, in 92 lower-income countries, there is not yet an established method for injury compensation if an adverse vaccine event takes place. This suggests the need for injury compensation plans in these lower-income countries by incorporating existing systems that already exist in wealthier countries, some World Health Organization programs, and the COVAX facility.
Epidemiology. One study
Facility. And the COVAX facility. COVAX facility.
Epidemiology.
I don't know if that was the end to the sentence.
Countries, some World Health Organization programs, and the COVAX facility.
Okay,
I guess I go to descripts. Is less laggy? Not really. Okay. Okay, I don't know if it's the influx, the tone, which I'm not the best at either. But that was the end of the sentence. Okay.
Some World Health Organization programs and the COVAX facility.
Epidemiology.
Are going with it.
Epidemiology. One study estimated SARS-CoV-2 seroprevalence in the United States as of September 2020. This cross-sectional study, conducted primarily by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Atlanta, sampled 177,919 residual serum specimens from across all 50 United States, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico during 4 collection periods between July and September 2020. They found that less than 10% of participants in 42 of 49 jurisdictions had detectable SARS-CoV-2 antibodies, with estimates of seropositivity projected in a given jurisdiction to range between fewer than 1% to 23%. This finding suggests a large variation in SARS-CoV-2 seroprevalence across jurisdictions and that most individuals do not exhibit SARS-CoV-2 antibodies from prior infection, highlighting the
a great example of that could be in, I believe it's Sweden. They tried to do herd immunity, and that failed miserably.
From prior infection, highlighting the need for ongoing prevention practices, including face masks and social distancing, and continued nationwide serotesting to inform SARS-CoV-2 epidemiology in the United States.
Understanding pathology. SARS-CoV-2 antibody and COVID-19 severity may vary with multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. A group associated with the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania compared the antibody response to SARS-CoV-2 in 29 children with minimal or severe COVID-19 to those with MIS-C. They discovered that children with MIS-C had higher titers of IgG antibody than children with severe COVID-19 that effectively neutralized SARS-CoV-2 and may be due to longer exposure time to the pathogen since the onset of infection.
The report.
That was it. Okay.
That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
Continue. Welcome.
For December 8th, 2020.
Climate.
New multi-track session. Do 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 do.
For December, the report. The report for December 8th, 2020.
Climate. No full compensation for vaccine injury. Are we looking at that exists in wealthier countries? Some World Health understanding
Okay. Another one in the bag. _8_final. Okay, 2 more to go. More than halfway there.
The report for November 9th, 2020.
Epidemiology. A systematic review of 39 articles on venous thromboembolic events in COVID-19 by a team of cardiologists and molecular biologists from the Central South University of Hunan, China, found that D-dimer fibrinogen, and activated PTT may be useful in predicting thromboembolic events in patients with severe COVID-19.
Understanding the pathology. Understanding the pathology. Physicians used enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay or ELISAs to screen 72,401 patients at Mount Sinai Health System for the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein antibody, and found that 30,082 patients tested positive with a titer of 1 to 80 or higher, with quantitative microneutralization assay demonstrating spike protein titer level positively correlated to neutralization titer. A subgroup of 121 patients had titers drawn multiple time points, 30, 82, and 148 days after symptom onset, and their ELISA titers still positively correlated with the neutralization titers after 148 days, suggesting that patients infected with SARS-CoV-2 form long-lasting neutralizing antibodies, and that the understanding of the kinetics of these antibodies could aid in vaccine development.
Management. Infectious disease physicians at the Imperial College of London reviewed publications about bacterial and fungal co-infections with human coronaviruses.
Gross.
And found that in 9 studies, 8% experienced co-infections during hospital admission. Because most patients across all studies received broad-spectrum antibiotics, authors suggest that the seemingly low occurrence of co-infection may be attributable to the empiric antibiotic use. Recommend conducting prospective studies to inform antibiotic stewardship during the COVID-19 pandemic. Members Members of the World Association of Perinatal Medicine proposed consensus statements regarding SARS-CoV-2 infection in pregnant patients based on the review of the literature. They comment on diagnosis, screening and laboring patients, maternal patients, maternal and fetal complications, vertical transmission, delivery mode, breastfeeding, and appropriate setting of care. Okay,
so this is supposed to be and.
Vertical transmission, delivery mode, breastfeeding, comment on diagnosis, screening and laboring patients, maternal and fetal complications, vertical transmission, delivery mode, breastfeeding, and low occurrence of co-infection may be attributable to the empiric antibiotic use and recommend
Oh, I don't want to delete it though. My bad.
stewardship during the COVID-19 pandemic. Members of the World comment on maternal and fetal complications, vertical transmission, delivery mode, breastfeeding, and appropriate feeding and appropriate transmission, delivery mode, breastfeeding, and appropriate setting of care. Appropriate setting of care. And appropriate setting of care and the use of antiviral medications. Delivery mode, breastfeeding, and appropriate setting of care and the use of care.
So it's a little rough. Call ended. Okay. It's a little rough, but I think that's what we can do.
And appropriate setting of care and the use of antiviral medications. This can be viewed in full on our website at covid19lst.org.
That's all for today. Thanks for listening. The report. Listening.
Continue to stay.
ASMR. Alright, I will do that again. Okay, so we're gonna go File, New, Multi-track Session. Not gonna name it. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock.
2020. The report for November 9th, 2020.
Epidemiology. Reviewing 9 articles on venous thromboembolic events in COVID-19 by a team of cardiologists and molecular biologists.
Physicians used
Members of the World Association of Perinatal .org.
That's all for
Okay, almost done. Almost done.
the report for December 11th, 2020.
Climate. The editorial team at JAMA explains their decision to publish the Lenzi et al. Study, fluvoxamine versus placebo, and clinical deterioration in outpatients with symptomatic COVID-19, a randomized clinical trial. While it is a preliminary study with limitations, the authors argue it warranted publication due to its design as a placebo-controlled, double-blind, randomized clinical trial, and that the author's methodological adjustments to conduct study activities without physical contact, such as arranging oxygen and medication deliveries for self-quarantining patients, and obtaining consent virtually. The team suggests that the Lenzi et al. Pilot study provides an excellent example of pandemic-appropriate research methods and lays the groundwork for research into preventing outpatients with COVID-19 from deteriorating into a more severe manifestation of the disease.
Epidemiology. A retrospective cohort study that analyzed 135,794 pediatric electronic health records from PedsNet.
I think electronic healthcare records are amazing. Epic, shout out to Epic and their cool app that works like a charm.
Found 4% 5,370 patients infected with SARS-CoV-2, while Kawasaki disease prevalence decreased in 2020 compared to 2018 and 19. They found risk factors for SARS-CoV-2 infection included pre-existing chronic disease and increased age. Additionally, subjects of SAC or age risk had a higher likelihood of a positive test result compared to white race, though they received fewer tests per population. These results provide large-scale data on pediatric risk factors, which authors hope will add to the growing knowledge on SARS-CoV-2 and host biology in pediatric populations. Leaders in the United Kingdom's Department of Health conducted a systematic review and narrative synthesis of literature on SARS-CoV-2 infection in children, published through March 9, 2020. In these 24 articles, they found that children under age 10 had similar infection rates to adults, but the observed rate of infection in children was perceived lower since children often had undetected milder symptoms, and transmission usually occurred within familial clusters when children were exposed to an infected adult. Authors suggest further data collection is necessary to understand child-to-child transmission of SARS-CoV-2 and to detail the clinical course of COVID-19 in children.
Understanding the pathology. A cohort-controlled study by pediatric infectious disease specialists in Ankara, Turkey, evaluated cytokine and chemokine levels from serum samples of 60 COVID-19 positive patients, and found that COVID-19 patients had higher levels of IP10 and MIP3B compared to 30 healthy controls. While IP10 was a predictor of disease severity in children, and IL-6 a predictor of disease severity in adults, they suggest they might provide insight into potential treatment targets for COVID-19 and further elucidate potential uses for inflammatory markers. As prognostic indicators for pediatric and adult disease severity.
That's a wrap, folks. Okay, we're gonna put on the necessities, put a bed under it, and call it good. I'm excited.
That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
Well, and I'm primarily excited to publish these because afterwards I'm going to work on sponsorships. So that'll require some more recording. And that's what I'm really excited about, is recording stuff. Do. Oh. Cancel.
December 11th, 2000. The report for December 11th, 2020.
Climate. The editorial team at JAMA explains their decision to disease specialist in Ankara, Turkey, evaluated cytokine levels from serum samples of 60 COVID-19 positive patients and found that COVID-19 patients had higher levels
That's all.
Diagnostic indicators for pediatric and adult disease severity.
That's all for today.
All right, everyone, that is a wrap. We completely finished editing, exporting. We have not uploaded, as of right now, the COVID-19 LST episodes 12.3, 12.3, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, and 12.11. Thanks for continuing to watch. The one person that watched, they have been on here about the same time as me. Could be rotating people, I have no idea. But it's been an hour and 6 minutes, and that is officially a wrap. If you'd like to learn more about COVID-19 LST, LST stands for Literature Surveillance Team, as I'm sure you've heard in the podcast, go to www.covid19lst.org. You can find them on Instagram, Twitter, I believe Facebook, and of course the website. Anchor FM is where they distribute the podcast, and there is a Patreon. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.